Hello, Serge here from the Backyard Driving Range. We have a question comment again, and this one comes from T. Medley, and he says, very useful, very helpful as usual, but one question. I realize the main way of maintaining the same stance, flex at the knees and the hips, with different length shafts is that with longer shafts we stand further from the ball and closer with the shorter shafts. And as we get closer to the ball, club lie angles must become more vertical, less flat to keep the club soled. But I want to ask about arm extension. Were you saying that with longer shafted clubs, the arms might be just a hair more extended and less vertical, i.e. the hands under the chin or the mouth with a wedge and hands under the nose with a driver? Fairway wood. Never beyond the nose, of course. Okay. Yes. What happens is that let's talk about the first point that T. Medley made about the lie angles. Basically, say you have your clubs 1 degree upright or 1 degree flat. Basically, all your irons will be about the same lie all the way through. And the length of the club, we know that as the club gets longer, it should go technically 1 degree flatter for every ½ inch longer that it is, but it'll be still maintaining basically the same angle of 1 degree flat for what that club is built as. I think the big issue that happens is to why that even though I try to stand up, and I recommend that you should try to stand and set up into your swing with the same feeling with every club, is that the setup is the setup and the swing is the swing, and I try to make the same one with every club, but it's obvious that these two clubs are quite different, driver and 7-iron. If I put them shaft to shaft, there's quite a big difference here in the length of these clubs from here to here, all right? And so I think one of the things that happens with shorter clubs, like if I come in here with a pitching wedge, boy, that one's a hot one, and I take a stance with my pitching wedge, it's obvious that if I keep my hands in the same place and don't change a thing, that look at where the club is going to be. The ball's moved out to there. But I think what happens is we start getting the clubs longer and longer. It becomes easier as the club gets flatter to go ahead and let our shoulders start to droop and get back, the back gets rounded, the hands get lower. And in many cases you can see that if your lies have been correctly adjusted, that the toe will start coming toe up and toe up. And so if I'm using this top of the pedestal here, the club is now getting, as I'm coming over here and the shaft goes down, the club starts going up and you can see the space in here, that's toed up. That means the lie angle on this club is incorrect. And it's actually at that point it would be incorrect. But if it was correct with a good setup, but as I said, as I start to go, as the shafts get longer and the club goes out more, it's easier for the upper body to bend over too much and the hands to get down, especially as I really get to the longer clubs. It's just so easy that at this lie angle, because now my hands are in like this position rather than a little bit more up here. So the key is you have to learn to get here in. If your lie angles are correct on your drivers, which for all of us now almost nobody it is, because for most people, if you're not about 6'3" or 4, they're making clubs way too upright with the drivers to actually have them toe up, and they want it that way because a club that's effectively toed up is also slightly hooked, and they do that to help golfers who are slicers not slice. But if you don't have that problem, I'm not a slicer, so therefore if I get my toe pulled up, toe comes up and the club's effectively hooked, I'm going to hit pulls all day. But I get my clubs pretty close to the right lie angle. We ask them to pick the heads up, and it's tough to get, but my lie angle is I got very flat clubs on all my clubs because my arms are extremely long. But it's so easy, and I fight it all the time myself. Getting in here, and when I get the driver, especially as the shaft gets more laid off, it's easy to bend over and stretch your arms out. And what happens when you stretch your arms out? When you get in here and you start stretching your arms up, you straighten them up, and all of a sudden now the muscles are more stretched and they start to feel stronger. You get in here and your arms you get that stronger feeling in your arms and up into your biceps and into your shoulder and your chest and shoulder muscles, and it feels strong. And I think that's one of the big things that dupes us into letting that happen. And I fight it all the time. I'm in here a lot of times. So now what I tend to do is I just walk into a ball. If this is my driver, I walk into a ball with all the clubs, but I especially do it with the driver. I get in here, and I make sure that when I bend over, that's it, and I stay there, and I don't let myself get into what? Doing that. So if I just walk in like this and start doing this, it's easy for me, and I'll stop a little bit backwards after. If I bend down and push the club past the ball, I tend to just back up. No, in many cases, I just need to stand taller and get back into that good position, which my hands will be closer to being around my chin, but not ever getting out here where they'll be past my nose and even my forehead probably. So I think it's easy with the longer clubs, which are flatter, to just walk in and get a little bent over too much, and which automatically flattens the club out even more, gets the hands lower, and as you bend over and go lower, the hands droop away from the body. So we really got to watch that. It's pretty hard to do that with the real vertical clubs, say 7-iron to the wedges, but it starts getting easier as the clubs get longer, and the longer they get, and when you start getting to those woods, and especially the 3-wood and driver, boy, you can really get out there. So you have to always think about, like I always say, I want to feel like I'm always standing tall. So I come in here and I get in here and I take my setup, and I'm always making sure I'm tall and not getting hunched. And the way I really feel it is if I start feeling my arms get too tight, too stretched, I know that's a clue. Okay? Well, just a few tips here about making sure that we have a better posture, fairly well standing tall as we can in our natural good setup position. And I try to feel the same setup from the wedge to the driver, but we got to work hard at it to really check it out and make sure we're in that good posture with the longer clubs. Well, that's it for the search for today, and I'll be talking to you all again soon.